Welcome to The Nation. I'm PASHA RAHIM. Today we explore the agriculture economy, a sector that's crucial to Malaysia's food security and rural growth. And with us today is Muhammad FARIS ARRIFFIN, the General Manager of National Farmers Organisation, or also known as NAFAS, to share how the agriculture landscape is evolving for a more modern and resilient future. Welcome, FARIS.
Thank you for inviting.
Okay, so today's conversation, we're talking about redefining the agriculture economy. Now, obviously, it's more than just farming. It's also about national resilience, it's about innovation, and more importantly, it's about the future of our food systems. As Malaysia is the chair of ASEAN in 2025, we have a very unique window to lead and also transform our agro-food economy. So let's begin with this. Could you share your perspective on how Malaysia's agriculture economy has evolved over the past years?
Okay, so first thing first, let's talk about what is agricultural economy. So agriculture economy, it involves all economic activities related to crops, such as your paddy, your palm oil, your rubber, wood, cocoa, tropical fruits and vegetables. And then the second one would be livestock, your poultries, cattle, goats, and then the fisheries and aquaculture. And of course the next one are all agro-based related industries, such as to cover the whole value chain, which is the logistic, the processed food, even your cooking oil, even the the tomato sauce, the chili sauce that you have on your kitchen, right, in your kitchen. And then and of course also involve animal feed and fertilizers in terms of agri-chemicals. So all these are what constitute our agricultural economy. So of course Malaysia is the second largest exporter of palm oil, so we have been successful in terms of palm oil industry. But for the rest of the other industry, in terms of the food self-sufficiency ratio, Alhamdulillah, we are blessed with fertile land. So in terms of poultry, in terms of vegetables, in terms of fish, we are pretty much self-sufficient. But of course there are still challenges in terms of our self-sufficiency ratio for our staple food, which is paddy and meat, which we are still very heavily import dependent.
Right. Speaking of being self-sufficient now, I've read that in order for a country to be fully self-sufficient, we need to be able to produce our own staple foods. Now, what are the biggest turning points, or perhaps some of the missed opportunities in this area?
Okay, so being in NAFAS as the apex of the farmers organisation for Malaysia, so we are the NAFAS is actually a short form for National Farmers Organisation. So we are the apex of a three-tiered farmers organisation around Malaysia. We have 600,000 members. So and out of those 600,000 farmer members, 200,000 are all paddy farmers, which are all eligible paddy farmers that receive subsidy assistance from the government to help them to produce the 50 to 60% of our rice consumption. Yeah, for the time being. Yeah.
And so we still have a long way more to go in order for us to be fully self-sufficient when it comes to rice, seeing that it is our staple food. But okay, let's talk about regional leadership. As ASEAN chair for this year, and we've got a lot of expos like Pakar Pertanian. How do you think Malaysia can unlock regional trade and also perhaps explore innovation opportunities for local farmers?
Okay, so we have been successful in terms of ASEAN bloc, in terms of being a large as a bloc. We have been successful in terms of being an agriculture exporter. So where we see our neighbors such as Vietnam, Thailand, and even us, we have exported a lot of agricultural produce. So in order for us to propel forward, if we move as a bloc, so we can be actually a formidable force in the global map in terms of rejuvenating our farmers and helping them to produce more and export this produce to the rest of the world.
Do you think there are any standout initiatives or perhaps some success stories that can be scaled across the ASEAN region?
Okay, so in terms of the regional cooperation in between ASEAN countries, so I would take initiative. I would love to cite an example of our last year's international event by the Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security, MAHA, in 2024. We have been successful. We have launched MAHA Go Global, where we have signed MOUs with within ASEAN bloc and also within the global market. The MOU sign is more than 7 billion, and also that is one of, and also we have attracted more than 5 million visitors throughout those 12-day event. So during that event, during those events, all the ASEAN ministers are coming forward to bring on the table what they can do as a bloc. You know, intra-trade is intra-ASEAN trade is something that I think we still need to develop and establish, yeah, so that, you know, as a bloc we are self-sufficient, and only then we can, you know, help the rest of the world with what we have from this fertile land of ASEAN. Yeah.
Right, okay. Let's talk about rising food prices, right? And of course, supply chain disruptions, which we have experienced in recent years. How is Malaysia addressing food security? And perhaps you'd like to share, what role do organizations such as NAFAS play in making us more self-sufficient? Okay, so talking about this, you know, I think I would love to that the term that people use is VUCA world right now that we are living in, right? So volatile, uncertain, you know, complex and ambiguous world. So post-pandemic, we have seen the impact on how this impact us in terms of the food that we import from our neighboring countries, such as rice that we majorly import from India, onions also from India, and then the rice that we also import from Vietnam, Thailand. So during this pandemic, most of the agriculture exporters countries, so these countries, they stop exporting because it's now for, you know, it's for their own self-sufficient first. So from then on, then lots of nations, including Malaysia, so we put food security as one of the main agenda. And of course, NAFAS is not was not excluded from this, especially in 2021-2022, where we have Ukraine-Russia war. So NAFAS is actually involved in the producing and delivering the fertilizer, the subsidized fertilizers, to 200,000 farmers around Malaysia on behalf of the government. So our raw materials, a big portion of it come from these countries. So the impact was quite, I would say, detrimental. Yeah. In terms of the raw material price shot up more than 3 or 4-fold. So we are currently still having the leftover impact of this, I would say, Black Swan event. So we are helping still the government, even throughout this pandemic. NAFAS keeps supplying the subsidized fertilizer to the farmers without fail, so that we can still maintain our paddy production for the consumption of our people. Okay, so just to get a clearer idea of where we are right now, is Malaysia's current agricultural output aligned with our consumption needs?
Okay, so if we are talking in terms of food self-sufficiency ratio for our staple foods, right now, for, like I told before, so for fish, for poultry, eggs and vegetables, we are blessed with having this almost self-sufficient, or more than 100%, that we can manage to export all of this produce to outside. But then in terms of our another staple food, the rice that we put on the table, and also the meat, these are the two basically staple food that we are still very much import dependent.
Right. Okay, let's talk about climbing up the value chain. Now, under the Agro-Food Policy 2.0, how is NAFAS helping farmers move up this value chain, you know, into processing, exports, and also market development, as opposed to just farming per se?
All right. So I would say let's go back to the basics. So it's all in the mindset. People used to have negative connotation that farmers is all about muddy boots, and all about dirty jobs at the farm and whatnot, right? But then now I think it's getting trendier, it's getting cool with all these drones, IoT, AI, precision farming, even satellite imagery and whatnot, and even in terms of the machineries, the more innovation are being done so that the machineries that we produce locally are fit for purpose, more accustomed to our local needs. So all of this work in progress by the government and also by our farmers community. So in order to help them move up the value chain, the mindset need to change from being just a mere farmers to an agropreneur.
Right.
So if they start to think like I would say agriculture CEO, so where they need to take care about finance and market, where do I market this properly, what are the costs associated with this, how do I optimize costs, how do I have a full supply chain, proper supply chain logistic and whatnot, how do I cut this cost so that I can give a competitive price product with high quality outputs to the people. Yeah, so the mindset need to change from being a mere farmers to an agropreneur.
Right, so we're talking about farmers really taking control of their businesses. Now, instead of just selling raw commodity, they need to be able to innovate. For example, if you're a corn farmer, you're also now selling corn-based products. Okay, so you mentioned IoT earlier, right? So let's talk about smart farming and also technology integration. I think over 600 digital agrotech systems have been deployed. Now, how are smallholders adapting to smart farming tools and technologies? Now, we know that a lot of farming businesses are very traditional based so far. So how's that transition going?
Yeah, so our traditional farmers, so of course when it's not broken, so why fix it? So that's a mentality that we have. So it took, I think, whole of nation approach for this scenario, for the modernization of farming to be taken up by the whole farmers community in Malaysia, right? So what we are doing in terms of this IoT, in terms of modernizing the farming industry in Malaysia, is by encouraging all of these farmers with lots of assistance. So in terms of transfer of technology, in terms of seminars, in terms of conducting all of these promotional activities regarding all these new technologies that can be adopted to increase their yield, to increase their productivity, to use this as a leverage for them to expand more and more. So these are the things that we from NAFAS are helping to approach our farmer members on behalf of the government.
But I suppose there is the assumption that these technologies are expensive. Is that the reason why some farmers are still reluctant to go down this road?
Not really, I would say. If we are talking about paddy industry, which we from NAFAS are heavily involved with, especially I think it would be surprising for the public to know that that certain areas already adopted this drone to spray the fertilizers, to spray the pesticide for several years already. So, but you don't need to own the, I would say, the massive drones and whatnot. So they have this kind of communities that are doing this as a business on behalf. So on behalf of the paddy farmers, so they took this, they took the rent, or they took this as a service for hire for these paddy farmers to help them in terms of getting more efficient in their work in distributing the fertilizers, in spreading the pesticide, herbicide and whatnot, utilizing this drone and IoT technology. Because even our farmers know they need to cut costs so that they can get greater yield from their farming, right? So that is how they are trying to slowly adopt this technology so that they can utilize and minimize the input that they use, so that they can minimize their costs in order to gain greater better yield for their harvest, I would say.
Right. So let's talk about the agriculture industry moving forward. What are some of the new skills that today's farmers need to develop in order to thrive in a modern agricultural economy?
Okay, so I would say just like what I told before, which is the change of mindset from being a mere farmers, you know, where you stop at the harvest, where you raw produce and then you sell it.
Right.
Yeah.
And then that's it.
Yeah, and then that's it. Converting this mindset to become more like agropreneur. Okay, so if you are an agropreneur, so of course you will think about lots of things, how to maximize, how to get more bang for your bucks, right? So how do I minimize my cost? How do I, getting more yield so that I can sell more, and from my yields, how do I multiply the products that I can produce from my harvest,
right,
so that I can, get more value out of it.
Right. So perhaps the older generation of farmers might still be stuck in that mindset. Now we're looking at the younger generation of farmers. How do we get more youth to be involved in agriculture? And how is NAFAS creating pathways into agriculture careers for the youth? How can we make agriculture appealing for the young people?
All right. Okay. So basically, if we are talking about Malaysia's actual population, we have about more than 54% of our population are below 40 years old. But apparently, the challenge for the farmers community, our farmers community are aging. So on average, the age are more than 60%. We have more than 60% of our farmers are more than 60 years old. Talking about specifically in terms of farmers organization membership, in our 600,000 members, only 14% are below 40 years old, and the rest are all above 40 years old. So one of the rejuvenations that we are doing right now, we are working together with Farmers Organization Authority under the Ministry of Agriculture to rejuvenate the memberships, to attract more and more youngsters to join the farmers organization, because this is where the government do the trickle-down economic effects by their assistance, by their subsidies, by their grants, by their business matching, by their soft loans and whatnot. So we are trying to attract all of these youngsters to become members of farmers organization, so that they can be actively involved in shaping the future of our agriculture industry.
Right. You mentioned grants and incentives. Do you think there are enough of these to really attract young people to join the agro-food sector, number one? And how do you think we can position agriculture more as a tech and entrepreneurial sector, especially for the younger generations?
Okay. All right. So I would say it's the government responsibilities to help in terms of providing a conducive environment for these newcomers to thrive in this agriculture industry. Because in terms of Malaysia GDP, in 1970s we used to have more than 30% of our GDP came from agriculture.
Right.
But then in 2023, our GDP is roughly around 7.5% only come from agriculture. So how do we make this industry to be thriving more and more in the future? Is by inculcating, by encouraging people to join more and more. So how do we make these people to join? First, we need to provide a conducive environment so that they know that I actually can make lots of money from involving in agriculture economy. And second one, like you said, it need to involve with lots of new technology so that it become more appealing to these younger generations, where they like to play with gadgets, they like to play with digitalization and whatnot, so if you have these IoT sensors, let's say on your farm, you don't need to go every day. You can just use the camera from your IoT and you can measure your soil health, you can measure the weather just from your IoT sensors.
Right. It's funny you mentioned that the young people are always on their phones, because we've got farming games on our mobile phones now. Hopefully that might encourage the youngsters to go into farming. But let's talk a little bit about policy and reform. Do you believe that the current agriculture policies are evolving fast enough to keep up with the pace of modern demands?
Okay, so to be fair, I think it's a work in progress. So with the current Madani government and the Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security under YB Datuk Seri Muhammad Sabu, there are lots and lots of reform that is being done, so that we can break through all those red tapes. Okay, so where we have like lots of paperwork, lots of checklists to be done before you can import certain seeds or certain technologies, or you can export certain outputs of your agriculture produce. Now we are trying to look at it holistically on how we can help the farmers. So it's all about how government can facilitate these farmers to thrive from the whole value chain, from importing, from procuring what is needed for them to thrive, and throughout the process, throughout the farming process, and also after they finish with their produce, so what to do with their harvest, and where do they market it, where do they export it, how do they export it. So for example, within these 2 years, we already signed MOU with China, of course, the largest market out there in the world. We have signed, the ministry have already signed MOU with China to export fresh durian and also coconuts recently.
Interesting. Okay, just a follow-up question to that. Where do you see are the biggest policy gaps, and perhaps how do you see private players collaborating in order to close these gaps?
Okay, so I think private players are doing what they can to improve this agriculture economy, because from this 2-3 years where I've been involved directly with this agriculture industry, lots and lots of I would say big leading players from other industries are taking interest in agriculture. So the big names that are not predominantly or traditionally agriculture are starting to look into agriculture as one of their diversified source of revenues for their companies, right? So for example, in terms of pineapples, lots of the companies that we know are doing housing developments, or and maybe industry players are suddenly taking interest in pineapple. Because of what? Because we are exporting now 1 billion ringgit worth of pineapple outside, and the demand is actually about 5 to 6 billion ringgit of pineapples, our MD2 pineapples. So they are start to take interest, and of course the coconuts and durians. So this is where all these big companies with deep pockets are starting to take interest. So this is where they try to push the innovation. They are trying to push the boundaries with the government to help them facilitate all the policies and whatnot, so that they will be easily involved in the business and export all of this produce outside.
That's very interesting. Now I guess I can sell my couple of pineapples that I have growing at the back of my house. Okay, very quickly, last question for you. If you could design an ideal agricultural economy for Malaysia by 2030, what would it look like? Very quickly, in about a minute or so.
Okay, alright. So an ideal agriculture economy is where I would say first, of course, we are looking from a food security perspective, where our staple food, at least we have those all self-sufficiency within our own lands, fertile lands. So we maximize the lands that we have, maximize the technology, the human capabilities that we have, so that we can produce our own staple foods, like I told you. So we have been successful in certain areas, but the certain areas that we are still lacking, those are the things that are currently being focused on, and also balancing between having an affordable price of food for the consumers, but also a fair and I would say reasonable income to our farmers. So and I would also love to change the mindset, just like in Japan, they really treat farmers as like their soldiers or their police, because food security is actually security as well.
That's true, because without the farmers then we won't have food
on the table. So I hope that the public will treat farmers as one of those people that that is sacrificing and contributing to the nation by putting food on our table and always have a special place in our heart.
All right, thank you so much for sharing your insights today. Now, we definitely look forward to how Malaysia can continue to lead the transformation of the agricultural sector in this region. And as agriculture continues to evolve, so too must our understanding and support for those who feed the nation. They are very, very important people. Agriculture is no longer just about planting and harvesting. It's also about innovation, resilience, and also national sustainability. And as we move forward, it's incredibly crucial that we all play a part, whether as consumers, as policymakers, or advocates for rural development. I am PASHA RAHIM. Thanks so much for watching, and follow us for more in-depth conversations on topics that matter. Take care.